Well, it's always Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup Day coming up on Saturday at Keeneland, the big Grade 1 event there for 3-year-old fillies. I always look forward to that. We were planning on talking about that, of course, on Horse Sense, but big Friday at First Racing, mostly at Santa Anita Park, a little Gulfstream sprinkled in, but Carryover City. So if you like to gamble, and I'm pretty sure if you're on this channel, you like to gamble, let's talk about that. Let's talk about those carryovers. Let's talk about the Queen Elizabeth the second Challenge Cup. Let's do it next. Me and Bailey on Horse Sense.
Welcome back to another episode of Horse Sense. As always, I'm Bailey Armour, joined alongside Avengers superfan Scott Shapiro, the one and only. Really, really big on those movies, loves them, watches them every day. We are, like Scott mentioned, going to talk about some more Keeneland stuff this week. Of course, coming off of that opening weekend where Torpedo Anna did not win the Spinster like so many of us thought, myself included, and bombed away my pick four. But it's fine. I'm not even salty about it. Still glad that I got to see her run in person. We'll talk about that race.
Is that what it was that she did? She ran?
She was in the race. I wouldn't really say she ran.
She competed.
She did compete and she did finish, but unfortunately she did not win. So that was kind of the bummer of the Sunday. But overall, a pretty good day at Keeneland. You know, I got to see some of my friends. I guess like we talked about last week, some friends were in town. It was a good Sunday. So but anyway, sorry, my dog is being crazy in the background right now, and you can see him walking around there. More importantly, we've got a slew of promotions on the calendar this week. I won't bore you too much with all of the nitty-gritty details. You can find all of those on Xpressbet.com/promotions. But very briefly, we're filming this one on Wednesday today. So this October, the Keeneland Wednesday meet, when you bet with us and you win on win bets, you'll get an extra 20% bonus up to $20. We're launching a new October bonus bonanza, as we like to call it around here, on Mondays and Thursdays, where you bet 100, you'll get $10 on select tracks. That whole list is on the promos page, like I mentioned. And tomorrow's track, Thursday's track, will be Belmont and Aqueduct. Another weekend of that Breeders' Cup Bankroll Builder that we launched last week. Check out the promos page for that. This weekend, we've got Keeneland, Laurel, and then Santa Anita on the calendar. And then, of course, it is Charlestown's big night this weekend for West Virginia Breeders' Classic night. That's going to come with a $2,500 hidden split on the late pick 4 and the late pick 5. So, like I mentioned, full details for everything on those promo pages. Make sure that you're, reading all of the dates and tracks and everything. It's pretty busy this week, so there really is something for everybody from coast to coast. Pick 4, pick 5, pick 6, points, bonuses, cashback stuff, bankroll builders, everything. We could probably sit here and talk for 30 minutes about that, but we won't. And now I will let Scott tell you about the tournaments this week.
Yeah, well, first off, I wanted to compliment the promotion team for the win bet bonus. There's so many promos that are, either based on you losing, you get money back and stuff like that, or they're just based on horizontals, which you've got to get a lot of things right. So kudos to that. Love a promotion where you just get paid extra for being good at what you did. And it's pretty simple. In terms of tournaments, we've got the Keeneland $3,500 fall BCBC NHC Challenge. Speaks for itself. Big buy-in. There's some qualifiers to get into that on Saturday, and also the inaugural, West Virginia Breeders' Classic Challenge. To your point, speaking right on top of your point there, your last point, I believe. So you've got the promotion, you've got the tournament, you got plenty of action in West Virginia to be had, and then we'll be talking Keeneland on my Spaces this week. For the Saturday card, I'm going to have CC, one of the amigos, not one of the guys from the Auxiliary Gate podcast. For those of you out there that are Kentucky racing fans, those guys do a real good job each week, even more so than once a week sometimes, of keeping you up to date with the who's of Kentucky folks, whether it be horsemen, whether it be people that are, personalities, media folk. But I've been on there a couple times, but really good, some of the smaller folks. Bailey, you would probably like their podcast.
I'm going to go after we finish the segment. I'm going to go subscribe.
Yeah. So the Auxiliary Gate podcast, I'll have CC. I've had Alan as well as Jeff on before, But looking forward to having him on to chat that Queen QE2. I've been having trouble saying that.
It's so many letters, right? In the
Yeah,
acronym.
it's
I can't
so
say
much.
right either. We're going to try our
QE2.
best.
QE2. That's it. Well, Bailey, normally we record on Thursday, sometimes even Friday, but we're recording a day early and for good reason because it's carryover city. We have the Sunset 6 carryover, which is what we will talk about a little more in depth here, but we definitely wanted to make folks aware of all that's going on. Mostly it's Santa Anita, Gulfstream kind of sneaking in there as the 1A, the tag team partner, but Santa Anita picks 6 as a carryover, the Super High 5 as a carryover. And then the Sunset 6 and Coast to Coast, which is where Gulfstream Park comes in, have carryovers as well. We'll get a little more into details. But, do you find yourself, are you excited? Obviously your job is to be excited when we have these types of things. But
Of course.
are you more likely to play this because of the carryovers? Is it something that, you're excited about?
Yeah, I would definitely be more likely to play it because of that carryover, like you mentioned. I think the Sunset 6 is kind of a hard wager. It's supposed to be, right? And the carryover makes it even better that you have this added bonus. But I was sitting down taking a look at it. I was like, man, some of these races, like I feel like I have a pretty clear path. And then some of them I'm like, okay, I need to trim down my ticket so it's not like $8 million worth. But that's why, we talk through these things and you listen to like other people's podcasts and like promo blogs and stuff. Now, how many pieces are you doing around these carryovers this week? I know that we've talked about it earlier this week.
Yeah, in terms of the content, what am
Yeah.
I producing? Yeah,
Yeah.
let me so I'm doing after we get done this, I'll be writing the one on the Sunset 6, which
Okay.
for this that'll be more detailed for folks looking really for my full thoughts on the sequence. We're going to kind of talk a little bit in depth about one race, but not too much in depth. This is more for recognition of the awareness, if you will. But yeah, so that'll be the big article. But let's talk real quick, kind of the not the nitty gritty details as you said earlier, but just kind of the basics here, the carryover mounts, and just the basics of the wager for those that are kind of new to this. New to these or haven't, been involved at Santa Anita recently, where the Sunset Pick 6 is kind of the new deal. So let's start. We got the Santa Anita Pick 6, which has been around forever. We know $2 denomination, 45,000 plus in that carryover. That's the last 6 races on the card Friday afternoon. In addition, the last race of the day, the Super High 5, has almost $36,000 in carryover money. And that's exclusively a one race wager. Now, those are the only Santa Anita ones. Now, we have the Coast to Coast, which is a wager that has been around for a while, and it features some Santa Anita, some Gulfstream. I do want to give you those races, but just quickly, I don't want to get caught up in the weeds here, but that'll be Gulfstream 6, 7, and 8, and Santa Anita 1 and 3, and it starts at 3:30 p.m. and is a $48,000 and change coast to coast. And then the Sunset 6 is the new wager. We're going to talk a little bit about that here. 54,000 and change because it wasn't hit at all last week. It's $1 minimum, 15% takeout. And the key to why it's not the big pool you might think, retail only. So you're only competing against the Baileys and Scotts of the world, not the computers of the world. So, people can input their own tickets via computer, but CAWs, I think you folks out there know what I mean. So, we'll talk about the Sunset 6 here. Dollar wager, like you said, it's not meant to be easy, Bailey. That's why no one's been hitting it. 6 races in a row is always difficult. $1 minimum denomination makes it a little bit easier than the $2. And so I think we look through the races. You a little less than me here on Wednesday, plenty of time, and you've got some big preparations for a big retired racehorse project, right?
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that yet. It is Retired Racehorse Project Week, so I'll be out at the horse park. Basically like every day this week. The last night, tonight, all day tomorrow, Friday afternoon, and then Saturday afternoon as well. I'll talk more about that on my Twitter. We don't have to take up our precious podcast time with that, but very busy week. Like you mentioned, I probably haven't spent as much time on it as you have since you've got that article coming up. But I did want to talk about Santa Anita's race number 7 with you. I know you have your little past performances there right in front of you.
They're big.
Um,
They're big, so I can see them. Yeah.
Are they printed out right directly in front of you right now? Oh, so
Old school
prepared.
boomery.
I don't even own a printer. I've never bought a
I
printer.
know you've never, because you never did it. So why would you?
Right. Like, why would I?
You learned how to do it on the screen, like that was how you learned.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
learned by handicapping on paper for years and years and years. And I just like to be able to write on it and have it in front of me. And it cost me money to be able to do so.
Yeah. I like marking things up on my iPad, which is like the same. Like,
Yeah, no, that's what normal humans do. Us old folks that are too stubborn don't do that. Even my old partner who is old, a few years older than me, would make fun of me because he switched over. So
switch to the iPad.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, let's talk about this race 7 for a few minutes, and then we'll move on to Keeneland. I'm curious your thoughts. This is second level allowance event, and it's a mile and 1/8 on the turf, so it's a legitimate race. Probably the highest quality of the 6, I would say.
Yeah. I was well, maybe not necessarily immediately, but landed on the 7 Paradise Lake for Peter Yurton. She's coming off a little bit of a layoff here. Her last start was out at Del Mar, and she was kind of in like not a 3-way photo, but almost. I mean, she was only second by what, like the winner was half a length, and these two were nose and nose. So definitely not anything discouraging for me there coming off of that layoff. But I took a look into her pedigree because she's bred by Mike Rapoli and he doesn't sell a ton. So I went back and looked at Keeneland sale. This filly, this filly's second dam is a half to Zenyatta. So the page is totally stacked there. I mean, plenty of black type and everything under the second and third start. And then she also, speaking of, like I said, I don't know where that
pedigree matter now, or you're just saying interestingly?
That was what was interesting to me when I was like looking at her. I don't think that ties in as closely for like the pick 6 ticket or anything.
Or just like this race, right? Because she's already run 8 times. You just think it's cool. Like I think it's
cool.
No,
I just think it's cool because anytime Zenyatta comes up on a page, I'm gonna want to talk about it. That's
good pedigree. I'm actually surprised. Before I sorry to interrupt you, I'm actually surprised based on what you just said that she only sold for $200K. You think that maybe a Uncle Mo with that pedigree, but maybe that's a little bit of an odd mix with the turf on the bottom and the dirt.
I would think I have the pedigree actually pulled up right in front of me on the other screen here. So third dam produced Vertiginu, excuse me, I can't say that right today. Produced Zenyatta. So second dam's a half to Zenyatta. She was unplaced, but has some black type. And then her first dam here, Terrific Treasure, was a winner, has some other registered foals, but no like close back black type. So since it's a little bit further, I think that's probably why she only sold for 200. Maybe she scoped good. Maybe she had bad x-rays. I don't know. But at least cool to point out on the pedigree there. She's 5-2 on the morning line. I know that the California prices do kind of change around a little bit, but as far as like class and experience in this field and the distance question, I didn't have any. Do you have anything more creative in this race, or
no? I'm going to use 2 in here. I think I think Paradise Lake is the one I like most. Just to piggyback from you. She did prove herself at the mile and 1/8 distance already, 2 back over this course. Both of her wins are over Santa Anita. If you listen to me talk a lot about that, those turf courses play different. Talk about a lot over the years, Santa Anita and Del Mar. Even if the sprints are more, way more different. But even still, some horses like it at Santa Anita and run better there. This horse still ran well at Del Mar, but I think she runs a little bit even better at Santa Anita. The other one I had interest in is not the 2-1 morning line favorite, Certitude, who will probably be on the lead, but has to prove it at a mile and 1/8. To me, it was Hannah Buckle, who I just think has some upside. You go third off the layoff, and we've never gone this far. Well, not we. I'm not a part of
it. Scott's getting them out for sure.
It's good. Armando Ayuso is a better turf rider. In fact, Armando Ayuso, 273 race sample size, positive ROI riding on the turf. So
really,
he's just 12%, but he's a good rider in California now. This filly just has the pedigree to run better with added ground, that European on both sides. So I'm hopeful with she's going to be a better price than our top pick, Paradise Lake. But For me, 5 and 7 in race 7, which is the fourth leg of this sequence. We'll just use race 7 at Santa Anita because it can get awful confusing.
Makes it so much easier to just say the race number. I would definitely get confused when I was looking at the sequence too.
Well, there isn't always a ton of carryovers on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday at Santa Anita this week, but the QE2 Challenge Cup, and I said it right that time, boom,
Thank God,
is always this week, kind of after Saturday, after the big Saturday or the big opening of the fall meet at Keeneland. I don't know if you've been there for it. I have. 9 furlong affair for 3-year-old fillies, Bailey. And you got 2 Brad Coxes in here. I kind of thought they'd be lower on the morning line, maybe both of them. You've got Lush Lips, you got Laurel Lynn. Good field. I bet this is your kind of race.
Yeah, it's not quite a turf sprint, but there are plenty of classy turf fillies and mares here. You've got a lot of international shippers in this one, Simmering, that scratched out of a race last weekend to come to this one instead. I don't know. Maybe they just thought she needed some more like familiarization with the kind of environment here at Keeneland. That would be my guess.
3-year-olds only. This one, I don't think the other
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, so a much like more better suited to her race, I would say. You've got some, I think Fion is the only one in this one that is targeting the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf last time I checked this morning, because this race isn't a win and you're in for anything. Those are pretty much done for the year here. So we should see Fion again after this one, which is kind of not a super close prep, but we won't see that many other horses running this close to the Breeders' Cup, like horses of this caliber. I almost said calendar, and that doesn't make any sense at this point on the calendar here. But this will be some of our last chance to see some of these horses before they go out west to Del Mar. I assume she'll keep training here. I won't be able to get out for this race like I was out there last weekend because of the Retired Racehorse Project, but I will be very glued to it on my phone on the Xpressbet simulcast while I'm at the horse park.
Yeah, well, it's a good race, and you don't usually get horses coming back after this race because this is a 3-year-old only race. You got to take on older there. A lot of times it's further than a mile and an eighth in the filly and mare. If you want to cut back to a mile, you got to face the boys. So yeah, it's really not designed for that. We'll see if Fion, she's going to have to run very well to want to go out west, take on older and the Euros.
That's a tall task.
Yeah, tall task for sure, but it would be her third off the layoff. But here, let's talk about this race. Breeders' Cup will have plenty of time. And actually wanted to mention that before we, signed off, we kind of have our schedule for the upcoming month. We've got this one, obviously, today when you're watching it. We're going to take off next Saturday, not next Saturday, but in preparation. It's a very small stakes calendar, not a big week, starting to really, to Bailey's point, seeing the Breeders' Cup horses wind down and the racing, the quality racing. There's good racing, bettable racing, but not the high quality horses we talk about on Horse Sense, or at least the ones that have achieved. And then we're going to get back. We'll have 2 Breeders' Cup focused ones with a likely special guest on Breeders' Cup week. So insert that there. But this race is a good one. You got Laurel Lynn, Fiona, I guess, are the obvious ones. They've run the fastest races and bring the biggest resumes in. But is it one of them for you, or how did you see this thing?
Yeah, it is one of them that I would like your opinion on, as usual, going back to our Talk Me Off This Horse segment that we haven't run in a little bit. So I am on the number 2 Laurel Lynn, Graham Motion, and Kendrick Carmouche. Scott, I really love this filly. I was watching replays of her last couple stakes appearances, 4 of her most 5 recent races that she is in fact undefeated in, are stakes races, mind you. She won the Saratoga Oaks last out by like almost 2 full lengths. She gets to the top of the stretch and just finds another gear. Kendrick Carmouche switches to the left-hand stick, and she was gone. He knows how to ride this filly like I know the Chick-fil-A menu, and that is to say, well. Okay, I love the way that he rides this horse. I love the way that she performs for him, and I have no reason to believe that it's going to be any different on Saturday. And I also will say he wasn't riding her when she went out to Penn and won the Penn Oaks. That was over a yielding turf course, and she still was able able to close and put up an 84 buyer there. So a horse that can run that well with pretty decent fractions, holding that strong late pace at the end of that on a yielding turf course for me is something that always stands out to me. That was, who was that dang horse at Pimlico last year that Dustin and I argued over? Balakov, that's who it was, because he had won over yielding turf before and was like a pretty nice price that day. And so that was what.
Yeah, the dinner party, right?
Yeah, exactly. Immediately drew my eye was that win over the yielding turf course. Now it's Wednesday.
Not all yielding is the same, though. That's the thing in America, especially in America.
Exactly. And that takes me to my last and final major point here. Yesterday, Tuesday, was the wettest day in terms of rain in the history of the state of Kentucky in October. We got almost 4.5 inches of rain yesterday. Now the turf course is going to dry out and everything by Saturday, but it's not supposed to be that hot and dry. I don't have any reason to believe the turf course is going to be anything other than firm, but if they've been out and around it and it's a little bit wet, the fact that he can kind of can run on, anything in terms of weather I just keep going back to this horse. I mean, is there something that I'm missing?
No, that's why she's the 5-2 favorite. She's the horse.
Clearly nobody's missing anything, right?
No, but I mean, my job in this sequence is to try to talk you off a horse. And I like when you at least give me the favorite, although I don't want you always to like the favorite. It presents the obvious first question: is she that much better than everybody else? That's what you have to ask yourself. And she's got to answer that question, because last time, I mean, she's taken on better competition each time. I thought the last win was really answered the question, right? But this is a grade 1. She hasn't taken on grade 1 competition. And you look at the field she beat there, and it was a lesser field. She didn't have to face Fionn. She didn't have to face the likes of Lush Lips, who I think has a fighter's chance in here. I think she's gotten very much more professional over the years. She's 5-1. I'm not going out on a major limb here. And
Brendan Walsh has been on a tear.
That's exactly it. Brendan Walsh has been on fire, and he happens to always have very good Keeneland meets, or almost always. So inside draw, Lush Lips would be the one I like. But back to Laurel Lynn, I think this filly is very good. She was 3 wide in the lane. She's proven over multiple turf courses, 3 in fact. So she's not just a New York horse. She made that trip nationally with another rider. But I think you've got to ask yourself, do we definitely know she's better than Lush Lips? I would argue no. Lush Lips has been facing the likes of Nitrogen, who I think is better than maybe all of these potentially.
Yeah.
So you got that question. I think she's pretty. I like her a lot more than Opulent Restraint at 4-1. I don't see her struggling to get by the Chad Brown rival, who is likely to be on the lead, but I've kind of seen enough of her. I don't think she's all that special. But, she's going to have to – Laurel Lynn's going to have to outkick Lush Lips first and then hold off the likes of Fionn. And I expect Destino d'Oro to take a little more money than 8-1, considering she went off at 4-5 against Fionn last time and just didn't run that well, right?
Yeah,
the barn clearly likes her.
Yeah, I think for Destino d'Oro, the jockey change from Luan to Irad is definitely going to benefit her.
I won't tell Luan.
Do what?
I won't tell Luan. You said so.
No, Luan and Keeneland sometimes.
I think he knows Irad's a better turf rider than him. So it's okay.
Right. Have a little bit of a troubled history though. But I mean, bet down like crazy and then just not to finish as she was projected to. Do you think that I mean, I know you're not really a post positions guy, but do you think that the inside draw for
guy, I just don't think it's like
the end all be all.
It matters in how the race starts. I just don't think it always matters how the race finishes.
Okay, that's very fair. That's a fair point.
What was your question?
No, do you think that the inside?
I'd much rather have an inside post on 2 turns on the Keeneland turf.
Okay, that was the answer.
Or an inside trip, if not, but it's a lot easier to get one of those without having to work for it if you're inside. That's part of why I think Lush Lips and Laurel Lynn are, the ones to beat. But Fionn just keeps winning, she beat Nitrogen 2 back, and when she was 6-1, and she's hasn't been favored in any of the last 3 starts. So this is a good race. I'm looking forward to it.
As always, thank you so much for watching another episode of Horse Sense this week, talking about some good turf racing out at Keeneland, and then these monster carryovers at Santa Anita on Friday, filming a little bit earlier this week for those carryovers, and then the Retired Racehorse Project. Now, like Scott mentioned just a couple minutes ago, we will be off next week to kind of take a break and get ready for everything Breeders' Cup. We'll have 2 back-to-back Breeders' Cup shows towards the end of October here, so make sure that you are subscribed to the Xpressbet YouTube channel, the one that you are probably watching it on right now, and then as well as follow myself and Scott on your favorite social media platform. Handles are always right up here in the video. He's at Scott Shap 34 and I am at _Bet Bailey on just about everything. Let us know who your pick is in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup. That's such a long race name at Keeneland this week. And then if you have any tips for that Sunset Pick 6 at Santa Anita on Friday, I am all ears, and hopefully we can take down that carryover. Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks on Horse Sense.